Alright, another year and another 52 weeks of gaming. That means that it's time for the year in review. As I did last year, I'm going to go and break the year down into two separate videos, counting down from 52 to 1 in terms of the games that I enjoyed. It's going to be very subjective and opinionated, so everyone's list might be different from my own on this, but let's jump right into it and see what I've got. Coming in at number 52 is Pumped BMX Pro from week 7. Now, I went into the game thinking it was going to be very similar towards Trials and those sorts of games that I've played in the past, but I found it to be very difficult to kind of get into it and do the moves that were asked and complete the levels very specifically as it was done. So I played a bit of the game but got very frustrated as time went on when I couldn't go and complete the moves like I was trying to go and input. Number 51 is Trax the Train Set Game from week 48. Now, the reason that this game is so low on the list is more because of how simplistic it was in terms of design, because clearly it was made for kids instead of adults, and compared to the rest of the games on this list, it's not going to go and hold that much ground. Again, not to say that it wasn't fun and it didn't fill me with nostalgia, it was just something that I can't really go and compare story-wise or a lot of aspects to it to other games that are on this list. Number 50 is King of Fighters 98 from week 11. It wasn't a bad fighting game, but because of technically how old of a game it was with all the different fighters in it, I didn't know that many fighters or the different genres that they went and came from, or the different games that they went and came from, which made it more difficult to connect to the characters that I played as in the simple fighting game that it was, but not to say that it wasn't enjoyable. Number 49 is going to go and be Riverbound from week 24. It was a game that immediately caught my eye when it came out because it was like a banana or a watermelon going and holding a gun in this weird pixelated screen as far as the cover is concerned, and so it drew me in, and it was kind of simplistic in that and ridiculous over the top, which made it a lot of fun and a nice little break from a bunch of other games. But it still didn't hold up in the grand scheme compared to other things that I played both before and after it. Number 48 is Bridge Constructor Portal from week 36. The game did have a bit of a plot as playing one of the little characters from Aperture Labs that goes and builds the bridges for the different characters to go across and traverse, building on that Bridge Constructor game series that existed before it. It was a lot of fun. The physics in it were fantastic to go and mess around with and really test my knowledge and limits there. And I had a lot of fun going and playing the game itself. Number 47 is Bomber Crew from week 15. It was a different spin on games that I've played before in the sense that you controlled all these little characters that were inside a fighter jet or a bomber that was in World War II, so based out of London, and flying different missions that would have taken place in France and England as well. So I liked the differences that were in the game, the cartoonish nature of something that has been done so many times before in video games, and it was something unique and really stood out to me. Number 46 is going to be 3-on-3 Freestyle from week 22. I'm not ever really the biggest fan of sports games, but I liked the way that 3-on-3 Freestyle decided to kind of mix it up with the basketball series and do something where you have different characters with different stats and kind of power-ups that you can go and use against each other, and it was more of a strategy game than a traditional basketball game would be. Number 45 is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite from week 14. I always enjoyed the Marvel vs. Capcom series. I think 3 is my personal favorite, although I know a lot of people like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It just was different for me because there was a fight every 5 seconds, and then it went to like a 3-second cutscene, and then just kind of cut back and forth, and you couldn't really get immersed in the action because of how back and forth it was, although it combined a bunch of characters that I really liked and enjoyed. Number 44 was Lego Indiana Jones from week 1. Now, I always make sure to go and do Lego games throughout the year because I still have my personal goal of completing all the Lego games, and I felt like the Indiana Jones one was odd enough from what I've done in the past to go and really enjoy it, and it does it over the first 3 movies is really what it's based on, and it is fantastic in terms of a Lego game. But again, compared to other games that I've gone and played, it's not the best story-wise, but still enjoyable, and people should go and play Lego games. That's my thought. Number 43 is Aftercharge from week 3. I knew absolutely nothing about Aftercharge coming into this game, and I left with a game that was still a bit rough around the edges, but was an enjoyable shooter with characters with different skills and a unique gameplay experience that I really have yet to go and experience ever again since I've gone and played the game itself. Number 42 is Jump Force from week 40. Now, as a huge manga and anime fan that I am, I was super excited for Jump Force because it combines all of the favorite franchises that I really grew up with. So it was a wave of nostalgia in the form of a fighting game, which kind of was outbalanced by the fact that it was a fighting game, and I didn't fully get invested in the story because, man, there was one chapter that just took way too long for me. Number 41 is Supermarket Shriek from week 42. Well, I don't think I've ever played a game before this, or will ever play a game where you play as a man and a goat inside a shopping cart and your powers are pretty much yelling and movement based on that. It is totally unique in that aspect and a lot of fun and very difficult to go and master how to go and turn specifically around sharp corners, and that will always come back to go bite me. Number 40 is Big Crown Showdown from week 30. Now, I am always a fan of party games and doing a bunch of mini games and playing against other people, and that was something that Big Crown Showdown really went to go and offer. You're racing along this different path, you can knock people off, and whoever basically gets their most hearts at the end wins and technically gets the crown, and it's just repetitive over a number of different levels, but each game is kind of unique in terms of who you're playing against, either other players online or the AI. Number 39 is Marooners from week 20. As I just talked about with Big Crown Showdown and liking party games, Marooners is more focused on the minigame aspect of it and playing a bunch of different minigames that you can hop in and out of randomly, so it kind of has to keep you on your toes in terms of how you're going back and forth between the games and what you have to go and do in each one. So definitely make sure that you pay attention to everything that you're doing in the game. Number 38 is Super Bomberman R from week 9. Growing up and playing Bomberman and knowing that Bomberman is always the same exact formula over and over and over and over again is kind of fun, but it does get a bit tiring after a period of time where you're just collecting power-ups and hoping to go and get to the end of the story, but just again collecting power-ups and playing against the AI really for the most part. Number 37 is Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited from week 17. I am not the biggest fan of MMORPGs, and so something like Elder Scrolls, which is a fantastic series, and the online game and the MMORPG of it is a fantastic game. It's just a lot of grinding on top of a lot of grinding on top of a lot of grinding. So you do quests and quests and quests, and did I mention that there is a lot of grinding in the game? Number 36 is Lego Ninjago the Movie video game from week 49. The other Lego game that I went and played this year, I've never seen the Lego Ninjago movie, but as I previously said with Lego Indiana Jones, I am trying to go and play all of the games to go and complete them, so this one definitely had to go off the list. And hey, I love ninjas, so having a bunch of different powers that you can go and run around and use was a nice switch up to the traditional Lego formula that they have in their games. Number 35 is Gwent from week 12. Gwent was one of probably my most enjoyable things to go and do inside The Witcher 3 as a minigame, but when it came to its standalone game, it expanded on the rules so much and was so involved, and you needed to really pay attention to the different cards that were added and the ways that it changed from The Witcher 3, that it was a bit tough for me to go and catch up with it, but I still enjoyed the series because of what it was based on. Number 34 is NHL 19 from week 23. I can say that it was the first hockey game that I ever played and probably will go and be the last. Compared to other sports games that I played, it definitely was the most interesting behind soccer to go and play and try to figure out the mechanics of using the stick with the right stick in order to go and shoot and play the game. But as with all sports games, doing a series takes up way too much time and I just don't have that involvement or patience with it. Number 33 is Fallout 76 from week 25. Now, I'm sure anyone who watches, or some people who watch, might be surprised that Fallout 76 made it this high on my list, considering that there's no NPCs and it's kind of an empty shell of a game compared to previous Fallout games. But I love the universe that Fallout has created, and I was able to kind of look past it and really enjoy the silence that was involved in the game to kind of build up this world. Number 32 is Monster Hunter World from week 21. I have never played a Monster Hunter game before, and it was a very different experience from other games that I guess would be in their series or sort of genre. Capcom did a fantastic game of building this world full of creatures to go and hunt down. It just got a bit grindy at a point, and if you can't solo or know the game well enough, you're kind of left behind. Number 31 is Absolver from week 16. I can't say that I've ever played a fighting game like Absolver before, because you travel around and you fight these different characters and learn these different moves in order to go and fight the different characters, and they're all unique, and it does take a bit of time to go and master and figure out what moves work against what and what equipment would be best based on the play style that you're going to go and do. Number 30 is the Talos Principle from week 51. It's a puzzle game. It's something that is sci-fi mixed with puzzles, mixed with philosophy and religion, and it's the weirdest mix-up, but I had a lot of fun going and doing it, and it really hurt my brain to go and try to figure out all the puzzles and figure out the overall story and the message that the game itself is trying to go and play. But it reminded me a lot of The Witness from last year, and I had a lot of fun with that, and I had a lot of fun with this. Number 29 is Life is Strange Season 1 from week 2. Episodic games are a bit hard to go and put as a whole onto a scale, just because the different episodes in it might be ranked differently if you were looked at by their own. But as a whole, with its unique spin on being able to rewind time just a little bit to make sure that the choices you do are unique enough, I thought it was fun, and I'm waiting to see what comes next with the series. Number 28 is Mortal Kombat 10 from week 28. Mortal Kombat is a fighting game that I grew up with, similar to like Street Fighter, but you grow up playing as Sub-Zero for so long, and I've played all of the games so far. I felt like I had to go and play 10 just to really keep up on the story and see how all the characters were doing it and using the different moves and really not knowing all the combos like every other fighting game. It was fun for more nostalgia purposes than I would care to admit. Number 27 is Crackdown 3 from week 8. Crackdown 3 was a super hyped game that was delayed, and when it came out, it reminded me a bit of Saints Row in the terms of how it looked and how it played and what you had to go and do. And I like the Saints Row games, so I figured I would like Crackdown 3. It just felt like it was lacking something that would go and put it higher up on the list, in my opinion. And that is the first 26 games that I'm ranking for this year. You might not agree with it. It's, again, my own opinion on it, and you are right to go and yell at me or tell me otherwise or go and comment about how I'm thinking differently from what I previously said throughout the year. But stay tuned for part 2, where I talk about the top 26 games through the year and see what my number 1 game is.